5 years had passed since Lisa Morgan walked out of the council chamber. Now she stood on the observation deck of Unity Station, watching ships arrive from across the galaxy. The massive space station hung in neutral space, visible from hundreds of light-years away due to its size and the energy field surrounding it. Below her, the Great Hall was filling with representatives from 37 species. Today was the opening of the First Galactic Congress, a new form of government to replace the failed council. "Quite a view, isn't it?" said a voice behind her. Lisa turned to see Gary Nelson, her new diplomatic apprentice. The young man had joined Earth's diplomatic corps just last year, part of the new generation that had grown up in the post-council era. "It's more than I imagined possible when we left the council," Lisa admitted. "I thought we might form a small alliance of ignored species. I never expected this." Through the large windows, they could see ships from former council worlds arriving. Even more surprising were the Valerian vessels docking at the lower base. "Do you think the Valerians are sincere about joining the alliance?" Gary asked. "They don't have much choice," Lisa replied. After the Centauri defeat, their economy nearly collapsed. They need the alliance trade network now. The Valerians had applied to join the alliance as provisional members just 6 months ago. It was a remarkable shift for a species that had once ruled a quarter of the galaxy. "We never wanted to destroy the ideal of interspecies cooperation," Lisa explained to Gary as they walked toward the main chamber. "We just couldn't accept a version of it that required us to be lesser partners despite equal contributions." The Great Hall of Unity Station was unlike the council chamber on Rigel Prime. Instead of a central podium where one species stood above others, there was a circular arrangement of seats, all at the same level. No species held permanent authority. Leadership rotated among all full members. As Lisa took her seat, she saw familiar faces from the early days of the Alliance. Renla of the Deltans nodded to her from across the chamber. The Novidian representative gave her a respectful bow. Even Faltor of the Arthenians was there, his people having officially joined the Alliance 2 years ago. On Earth, a ceremony was taking place at the same time. A memorial was being dedicated to the diplomatic corps members who had endured decades of council prejudice. Defense Secretary Alan Wright, now retired, stood with Olivia Patul as the memorial was unveiled. The simple stone monument bore the names of everyone who had served in the council chamber over 50 years. At the top was an inscription: "Sometimes the greatest strength is knowing when to walk away." In universities across Alliance space, professors taught students about what had happened. They called it the human paradigm, how a single species had transformed galactic politics not through war or conquest, but by simply refusing to participate in an unfair system. Back on Unity Station, the first session of the Galactic Congress began. The speaker, a Lyrican this month, called for order. "Today we begin a new chapter in galactic history," the speaker said. "One based not on age or military power, but on the principle that all sentient species deserve equal voice and equal respect." As the session proceeded, Lisa thought about how far they had come. The Council had believed humans needed them to survive. They had been wrong. It was the Council that had depended on humans, not the other way around. The last item on the day's agenda was the approval of technology sharing protocols. Under the new system, all major scientific advances would be shared equally among Alliance members. No species would be told they weren't ready for new technology. When the vote was called, it passed unanimously. Even the Valerian representatives voted yes. They had learned their lesson. As the session ended, Lisa looked out at the gathered representatives. Some had green skin, some blue, some no skin at all. Some breathed oxygen, others methane. They were different in countless ways, but they had found a better way to work together. All because humans had walked out of diplomacy and let the Galactic Council collapse under the weight of its own arrogance. The Centauri waypoint was the key to travel in this section of the galaxy. A natural formation of stable wormholes allowed ships to move quickly between dozens of star systems. Whoever controlled the waypoint controlled the flow of trade and military ships across a quarter of the galaxy. Imperial Overlord Zextar of the Valerian Empire stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Glory. Around him, 200 Valerian warships prepared for the attack. This would be the largest military operation since the Centauri conflict 50 years ago. "All ships report ready, Overlord," said his second-in-command. Zextar nodded. "Begin the operation. Take the waypoint quickly and establish defense positions immediately." The Valerian fleet moved forward, entering the jump point that would take them to the Centauri system. Zextar was confident. Alliance ships had been spotted near the former Council worlds, defending their new members. The waypoint would be lightly guarded. The fleet emerged at Centauri. Zextar smiled as he saw only empty space ahead. Their intelligence had been correct. The Alliance had not expected this move. Then alarms blared across the bridge. "Energy readings all around us," shouted the sensor officer. Hundreds of them, powering up. Across the Centauri system, hidden defense platforms activated. They had been placed there months ago, cloaked from normal sensors. Each platform was armed with weapons and shield generators designed by human engineers. "Alliance ships incoming," called another officer. From behind Centauri's moons, 50 Alliance vessels appeared. They were outnumbered 4-1, but they moved with confidence. On the lead Alliance ship, Liberty Dawn, Admiral Kate Reeves watched the Valerian fleet with calm eyes. "They took the bait," she said to her crew. "All ships engage as planned. Defense platforms, activate quantum response network." The platforms and ships linked instantly through the FTL communication system. They began coordinating their attacks with perfect precision, something no Council fleet had ever achieved. The battle began. Valerian ships fired their weapons, but Alliance shields held strong. When the Alliance fired back, their shots passed through the weak points in Valerian shields, weak points they knew from years of joint military exercises during Council days. On the Eternal Glory, Zextar watched in horror as ship after ship reported critical damage. "This is impossible," he growled. "How are they coordinating so perfectly? How do they know our shield patterns?" His second-in-command had no answers. After just 2 hours of battle, 30 Valerian ships had been disabled without a single Alliance casualty. "Order all ships to target the Liberty Dawn," Zextar commanded. "Destroy their command ship." 100 Valerian ships turned their weapons on Admiral Reeves' vessel. The Liberty Dawn's shields flared and held. When the barrage ended, the human ship was untouched. Kate opened a channel to the Valerian fleet. "Imperial Overlord, you are outmatched. Withdraw your forces, or we will be forced to disable more of your ships." Zextar slammed his fist on his command chair. "Never. The Valerian Empire does not surrender." "This isn't about surrender," Kate replied. "It's about preventing unnecessary deaths. The Council era is ending. Don't sacrifice your people for a dying system." For the first time in his life, Zextar felt true fear. Not for himself, but for his empire. If the Alliance could defeat his fleet so easily, what else could they do? After 6 hours, the battle ended. The Valerian fleet retreated, having lost 67 ships without destroying a single Alliance vessel. The news spread across the galaxy at light speed. On Council worlds everywhere, people watched the reports in shock. The Valerians had the largest fleet in Council space. If they couldn't stand against the Alliance, who could? One by one, the remaining Council species issued declarations of neutrality. They would not fight for the Council, nor against the Alliance. Some privately began discussions about joining the new Galactic Order. In the empty Council chamber on Rigel Prime, Vexella sat alone. The Centauri defeat had destroyed his authority. The emergency session he had called had been attended by less than a third of the remaining members. The Council, as a unified governing body, had ceased to exist, and it had happened not with a war that engulfed the galaxy, but with a single battle that ended in 6 hours. Humans hadn't just walked out of diplomacy. They had rewritten the rules of galactic power. 2 years after humanity's exit, the once mighty Galactic Council was breaking apart. The Grand Chamber on Rigel Prime, designed to hold representatives from hundreds of species, now had empty seats throughout. Council sessions that once lasted for days now ended in hours, with few decisions made. The council had split into 3 clear groups. The Hardliners, led by Vexala and the Valerians, demanded military action against the Alliance. The Moderates, led by Faltor and the Arthenians, pushed for talks. The third group, mostly trading worlds, tried to stay neutral while secretly doing business with Alliance members. Today's session was the most important in centuries. Faltor stood at the center of the chamber, his tall, slender form rigid with tension. For 10,000 years, the Arthenian people have served the council, he said, his voice steady. We have been peacekeepers, mediators, and advisors. We believed in the council's mission of unity. Vexala watched from his high seat, eyes narrowed with suspicion. But the council has changed, Faltor continued. It no longer serves all species equally. It has become a tool for the powerful to control the rest. Gasps echoed through the chamber. No one had ever heard an Arthenian speak this way. After much consideration, the Arthenian worlds have made a decision. Faltor paused, looking around the room one last time. We are withdrawing from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. The chamber erupted. The Arthenians were founding members of the council. For them to leave was unthinkable. Vexala leaped to his feet. This is treason. The humans have corrupted you, Faltor. The humans simply showed us what we refused to see, Faltor replied calmly. He removed his council pin and placed it on the podium. The council is dying, Vexala. It just hasn't accepted it yet. Faltor walked out, followed by the entire Arthenian delegation. In the corridors, other representatives huddled in worried groups. If the Arthenians were leaving, who would be next? On Mars, Lisa Morgan received the news during an Alliance technological summit. Representatives from 22 species had gathered to share advances in medicine, energy, and space travel. The Arthenians have officially announced their withdrawal from the council. Lisa told the group. They haven't yet requested to join the Alliance, but they've opened diplomatic channels. The Deltan representative, Renla, looked surprised. The Arthenians, they're one of the most powerful species in the galaxy. If they join us. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, Lisa cautioned. The Arthenians may choose neutrality. What matters is that the council is losing its strongest voice for peace. Later, Lisa walked with Olivia Patol through the Mars Botanical Gardens. The glass dome above them showed the red Martian sky, while Earth plants grew all around. This isn't about human dominance, Lisa said, looking at the gathered representatives from many worlds. It's about creating a system where innovation and cooperation aren't stifled by ancient hierarchies. Olivia nodded. The FTL communication network is proof of that. We built it in months because everyone contributed equally. The council argued about a similar project for decades and never got it working. On Rigel Prime, the council chamber stood half-empty after Faltor's departure. Many representatives had left to report to their homeworlds. Some would not return. Vexala met with his closest allies in his private chambers. The room was decorated with trophies from conquered worlds, reminders of the Valerian Empire's military might before they joined the council. The time for talk is over, Vexala told them. We must act decisively or watch the council die. A Zeth commander nodded in agreement. What do you propose, High Counselor? Vexala walked to a star map showing Alliance territory. He pointed to a key system in the center. The Centauri waypoint controls access to multiple Alliance worlds. If we take it, we can cut their territory in half and isolate their main trading routes. The Alliance will fight back, warned another ally. Vexala smiled coldly. Let them try. Their shields may be strong, but they can't defend everywhere at once. And once we take the waypoint, other council members will remember where true power lies. What Vexella didn't know was that a hidden transmitter in his chamber sent every word to Alliance intelligence. The Valerians had always underestimated human foresight. One more mistake they would soon regret. 18 months after Earth's departure, the Galactic Council faced its biggest crisis yet. The Grand Chamber on Rigel Prime was in chaos. Representatives shouted over each other, while High Counselor Vexella tried to restore order. Silence. Vexella's voice boomed through the room. "We will have order." The noise slowly died down. At the center of the chamber stood representatives from 3 council species: the Novidian Cluster, the Halaxian Republics, and the Turellian Technocracy. All 3 had just announced their withdrawal from the council. "You betray 3,000 years of galactic unity," Vexella said, his blue skin dark with anger. The Novidian representative, a tall being with silvery skin, stepped forward. "The council stopped representing unity long ago. The alliance of equals offers a better way forward." Accusing shouts filled the chamber again. These were not small species leaving. They were mid-tier council members with significant territories and resources. Faltor of the Arthenians watched with growing concern. For 10,000 years, his people had been the peacekeepers of the galaxy. Now he feared war was coming. "We must let them leave peacefully," Faltor said, rising from his seat. "Using force will only push more species away." Vexella turned on him. "Would you have us do nothing while the council falls apart? I propose a military blockade of Novidian space immediately. They must be taught a lesson." The vote was close, but the blockade was approved. As the council session ended, Faltor sent an urgent message to his contacts in Alliance space. War was coming. On Earth, Defense Secretary Alan Wright met with Admiral Kate Reeves in the Underground Command Center. The room was filled with screens showing Alliance territories and fleet positions. "The Novidians, Halaxians, and Turellians have officially requested to join the Alliance," Alan said. "The Council has authorized a blockade of Novidian space." Kate studied the star maps. "We expected this. Our rapid response fleets are already moving to support positions." A young officer named Sam Carter approached with a datapad. "Sir, I've identified the most likely points for Council aggression. The Novidian homeworld will be their primary target." Elen reviewed the analysis. "Good work, Carter." Admiral Reeves, "Deploy defense systems to these locations immediately." Within hours, Alliance ships jumped to positions near Novidian space. They carried advanced shield generators and weapons developed by Earth scientists. The technology had been shared equally among all Alliance members. On the Novidian homeworld, people watched the skies with worry. Council propaganda had warned of human aggression for years. Now that they had left the Council, would the humans protect them as promised? Their answer came when a fleet of 20 Valerian warships appeared at the edge of their system. The ships moved toward the planet in attack formation. Fear spread through the Novidian cities. Then something unexpected happened. Between the Valerian fleet and the planet, space seemed to ripple. 7 Alliance ships appeared, their hulls bearing the symbols of Earth, the Deltans and the Lyricans. On the command ship, Captain Ellen Ross opened a channel to the Valerian fleet. "This is the Alliance vessel Horizon. Novidian space is under Alliance protection. Withdraw your ships immediately." The Valerian commander laughed. 7 ships against 20. You are brave but foolish, human." "Look closer," Ellen replied calmly. The Valerian ships scanned the Alliance vessels. What they saw shocked them. Each ship was surrounded by an energy field unlike anything in Council technology. Their scans could not penetrate the shields. The Valerian commander ordered an attack. Energy weapons fired at the Alliance ships. The beams hit the shields and dissipated completely. Ellen opened the channel again. "That was your only warning. Leave now, or we will be forced to demonstrate our defensive capabilities." For 10 tense minutes, the Valerian ships held position. Then, without another word, they turned and jumped away. They had come expecting an easy victory. What they found was something they didn't understand. and that frightened them more than any weapon. On Rigel Prime, Vexilla received news of the failed blockade. His rage was terrible to witness. "Find out what those shields are," he ordered his military chiefs, "and prepare our main battle fleets. This is no longer about a few rebellious worlds. This is about the future of the Council itself." Faltor watched from the shadows. The Council was making exactly the mistakes the humans had anticipated, and he was beginning to wonder if his loyalty belonged to a broken system. 1 year after Earth's departure from the Galactic Council, the effects were impossible to ignore. The grand market halls of Rigel Prime stood half empty. Prices for common goods had risen by 30%. Ships that once brought goods from human space now went elsewhere. In the Council's financial center, analysts presented their reports to worried representatives. "The Galactic Credit has lost 15% of its value," said the chief analyst, her voice echoing in the silent chamber. "Trade volume is down by 22% across Council space." High Counselor Vexilla paced at the front of the room. "This is temporary. The humans cannot maintain their isolation." "It is not isolation that concerns us," replied the analyst. "It is the growth of the Alliance trade network." On the screens around the room, maps showed new trade routes connecting Alliance worlds. At the center of many routes was a space station called Junction. This station, built by the Alliance in neutral space, had become a major trading hub in just 6 months. Meanwhile, at the Council's main shipyard, construction had fallen far behind schedule. Praxis Shipbuilding had once been the largest producer of military and civilian vessels in the galaxy. Now its docks were filled with half-finished ships. "Where are the phase regulators?" demanded shipyard manager Dorn Vex. "We can't complete the engines without them." His assistant checked the inventory lists. The human engineers who designed them are gone. "The replacement parts from Valerian factories don't work properly." Dorn slammed his fist on the table. "Find someone who can make them work." But there was no one. For decades, the Council had relied on human engineers while claiming humans were technologically inferior. Now that lie was exposed. At Junction Station, Henry Dalton greeted merchants from across the galaxy. Some came from Council worlds, risking punishment to trade at the Alliance hub. The station was a large ring in space, with docking bays for hundreds of ships. Henry had helped design it. "Welcome to Junction," he told a group of nervous Zeth traders. "Your goods will be taxed at 5%, not the 20% the Council charges. Your ships will be protected regardless of their origin." The Zeth captain looked around in wonder. "We heard the station was impressive, but I didn't expect this. How did you build it so quickly?" Henry smiled. "When species work together as equals, amazing things happen." That evening, Henry met with Lisa Morgan in his office overlooking the main trading floor. Junction had become the symbol of the Alliance's success. "The Council has approved sanctions against us," Lisa said, reading from her tablet. "All Alliance goods are banned in Council space." Henry laughed. "Do they think that will hurt us? We're already trading more with independent systems than with Council worlds." "It's desperation," Lisa replied. "The economic reports are worse than what they're admitting publicly. Without human ships and trade routes, they've lost 30% of their commerce." On the Council world of Zeth Prime, the sanctions were announced to the public. But in private markets and homes, people were worried. Goods from Earth and other Alliance worlds had become hard to find. Prices kept rising. "My business cannot survive these prices," said merchant Cole Zen to his friends at a local gathering place. Maybe the Council was wrong about the humans. Such conversations happened on many Council worlds. People began to question what they had been told about humans and other Alliance species. Back on Rigel Prime, the Council tried to find solutions. They ordered more production from member worlds. They created new trade agreements. Nothing worked. "We must take stronger action," Vexilla insisted during a private meeting with military leaders. "The Alliance grows stronger each day. Soon other species may join them." Faltor of the Arthenians disagreed. "Military action would be disastrous. We should open dialogue instead." Your species has grown soft, Faltor, Vexella said coldly. Sometimes force is necessary to maintain order. As they argued, a message arrived. The Novidian cluster, a mid-sized council member for 600 years, had announced it was considering leaving the council to join the alliance. Vexella read the message and crushed the tablet in his hand. No more debate. We will show everyone what happens to those who defy the council. The economic tremors were about to become a political earthquake. 6 months had passed since Lisa Morgan walked out of the Galactic Council. Now she stood by a large window overlooking the oceans of Ta City 4. 7 ships had landed at the secret meeting place. Each carried representatives from species the council had long ignored. "Thank you all for coming," Lisa said to the gathered aliens. "I know the journey was risky." Around the room, beings of different shapes, sizes, and colors nodded or made their species equivalent gestures. The Deltans were there, along with representatives from the Novan Collective, the Lyrican Engineers, the Talari Unity, the Brel Consortium, the Orin Path, and the Zenith Mines. "The Council has failed all of us," Lisa continued. "They take our resources, use our people, and give little in return. Humans decided we'd had enough. We think you feel the same." Renla of the Deltans stepped forward. "The Council denied our mining rights in our own system last year. They said we weren't ready to manage the resources." Others shared similar stories. The Lyricans had invented a new drive system, but were forced to turn over the plans to the Council. The Novans had their colony application rejected 8 times without explanation. "We propose something new," Lisa said. "An alliance of equals. Every species gets 1 vote, regardless of how many planets they control or how long they've been in space." For 5 days, they talked. They argued. They found common ground. By the end, they signed what would be known as the Ta City Accords. The Alliance of Equals was born. Meanwhile, on Earth, Olivia Patel worked in her lab under the Rocky Mountains. For months, she had been trying to solve a problem that had stumped scientists across the galaxy for centuries: how to send messages faster than light without delay. "Try it again," she told her assistant, Greg Martinez. Greg pressed a button. A small device on one side of the lab flashed. Instantly, with no delay at all, another device on the opposite side lit up. "It works," Greg shouted. "0 delay across 100 meters. Olivia smiled. "Now let's see if it works across planetary distances." They contacted the research station on Mars. 2 hours later, the confirmation came back. The message had arrived instantly. No 17-minute delay like normal communications. Olivia called Lisa Morgan immediately. "We did it," she said. "Instant communication across any distance. The FTL communication network can be built." On Rigel Prime, an emergency council session had been called. Reports of the Tau Ceti meeting had leaked. High Councilor Vexella was furious. "This alliance is a direct threat to council authority," he declared. "They must be stopped before others join them." Faltor of the Arthenians rose from his seat. "And how do you propose to stop them?" "Military action against 7 species at once." "If necessary, yes," Vexilla replied. "The Council has maintained order for 3,000 years. We will not allow a group of primitive species to destroy what we've built." Faltor shook his head. "The humans are not primitives. Neither are the others. Perhaps instead of threats, we should consider why they felt the need to form this alliance." "Are you defending traitors, Faltor?" Vexilla's voice was dangerous. "I am suggesting wisdom instead of anger," Faltor replied calmly, something the Council seems to have forgotten. Other representatives started taking sides. The chamber filled with shouts. The Council, once united, was beginning to split. Back at Tau Ceti, Lisa received news of the Council's reaction. She wasn't surprised. "They'll try to isolate us economically first," she told the other Alliance representatives. "Cut off our trade routes, block our ships." "Can we survive that?" asked the Talari representative, her feathered crest flat with worry. Lisa nodded. That's why the FTL communication breakthrough is so important. With instant communication, we can coordinate our ships, warn each other of dangers, and build our own trade network outside Council control. The Alliance members looked at each other. For centuries, they had lived under Council rule, believing they had no choice. Now they had hope. The Council thinks our alliance will fall apart in months, Lisa said. Let's prove them wrong. Unknown to everyone, Faltor sent a private message that day. It went to an old friend on Earth, someone he had worked with during the Centaur conflict. The message was simple. Be careful. Vexilla is more dangerous than you know. The lines were being drawn across the galaxy. The revolution had begun. 3 months passed since Earth's exit from the Galactic Council. On Rigel Prime, the weekly council meeting was noisier than usual. Representatives argued across the chamber while High Counselor Vexilla tried to restore order. The humans will return, Vexilla insisted, his blue skin darkening with frustration. No species can survive alone in this galaxy. Ambassador Krila of the Thoraxian Collective stood up. Her insect-like form towered over the other representatives. Yet they are surviving. More than surviving, they appear to be thriving. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Reports showed human trade ships creating new routes that avoided Council space entirely. Their military ships patrolled their borders with new weapons no one had seen before. Perhaps, Krila continued, we should consider if the humans were treated fairly during their time with us. Vexilla slammed his hand on the podium. This discussion is closed. The Council has more important matters than the temper tantrum of a juvenile species. But the seed of doubt had been planted. After the meeting, representatives from smaller species gathered in private corners to whisper among themselves. Meanwhile, Commander Frank Diaz floated in space near Earth's moon. His spacesuit thrusters kept him steady as he inspected the new quantum shield generator. The massive device would soon create a protective bubble around Earth that no known weapon could penetrate. Looking good, Commander, said the voice of Olivia Patul through his helmet. She was the scientist who had designed the shield. Power readings are stable. Frank ran his gloved hand along the smooth metal surface. How long until the entire network is online? 2 weeks for Earth. Then we start on the colonies. Mars first, then Europa, then outward to the border systems. This was technology Earth had offered to share with the Council 5 years ago. The Council had rejected it, calling it too dangerous for lesser species to control. Now, humans were free to use their inventions as they saw fit. Any news from the Council? Frank asked as he drifted back toward his ship. Nothing official, Olivia replied. But our intelligence reports several joint defense projects are falling behind schedule without our engineers. Frank smiled inside his helmet. The Council had always taken human expertise for granted. Now they were learning what it meant to lose that resource. On the small mining world of Boros, Lisa Morgan sat across from the representative of the Deltan Federation. The Deltans were a small species with only 3 systems to their name. The Council had always ignored their concerns. Your people really aren't going back? Asked Renla, the Deltan ambassador. His gray skin wrinkled around large, curious eyes. Lisa shook her head. We tried diplomacy for 50 years. It didn't work. The Council says you will collapse without their protection. The Council is wrong, Lisa said simply. We've been holding back our best technology for years because they weren't ready to share it equally. Now we don't have to hold back. Renla leaned forward. There are other species who feel as you do. The Deltans, the Novan Collective, the Lyrican engineers. We are all tired of being treated as less than the founding members. Lisa tried not to show her excitement. This was exactly what Earth had hoped for. Perhaps we should talk more about that. Not as Council members, but as equals. Across the galaxy, 6 more such meetings were happening. Earth representatives spoke with species who had long been pushed aside by the major Council powers. On Rigel Prime, the Arthenian representative Faltor reviewed reports of these meetings with growing alarm. For 10,000 years, the Arthenians had been peacekeepers of the galaxy. They believed in the council system, but even Faltor could see the cracks forming. "They're building a coalition," he told his aide. "The humans aren't isolating themselves. They're creating an alternative." "Should we inform High Counselor Vexella?" the aide asked. Faltor considered the question. Vexella would demand immediate action, probably military. That would only make things worse. "No," Faltor decided. "Let me speak with the humans first. Perhaps there is still a way to preserve what the council was meant to be." But Faltor knew that time was running out. The ripples from Earth's departure were spreading across the stars, and soon they would become waves that could wash away 3,000 years of galactic order. Lisa Morgan sat straight in her chair, trying to hide her frustration. The grand chamber of the Galactic Council stretched around her. Tall windows showed the purple skies of Rigel Prime. The air smelled like cinnamon and something alien. This was the 467th meeting she had attended as Earth's representative. She was tired of being ignored. High Counselor Vexella of the Valerian Empire stood at the center podium. His blue skin gleamed under the lights as he spoke about expansion rights. "The Council has carefully reviewed all applications for new system colonization," Vexella said. His voice boomed through the chamber. "We have decided to grant the Valerian Empire rights to 12 new star systems in the Orient sector." Applause filled the room. Lisa didn't join in. She knew what was coming next. "The humans," Vexilla continued, "will be permitted 2 systems in the Outer Rim." Lisa felt her face grow hot. For 50 years, humans had played by the Council's rules. They had shared medical advances. They had fought alongside Council forces during the Centauri conflict. 30,000 humans had died defending Council worlds. And still, Earth was treated like a child at the adults' table. She looked down at her tablet. A message from Earth flashed on the screen. "Enough is enough." Lisa thought about her orders. Plan B had been approved last week by the Earth Coalition. All she needed to do was give the signal. 50 years of trying to work within the system had gotten humans nowhere. It was time to try something new. The Arthenian representative was speaking now. "The humans should be grateful for any expansion. Their species is barely a century into spaceflight. Such quick growth could be dangerous for young races." Lisa had heard this argument many times before. The Council used it whenever they wanted to hold humans back. Time meant nothing. Humans had solved problems in decades that had stumped other species for centuries. "Does the human representative wish to comment?" Vexilla asked. All eyes turned to Lisa. In the past, she would have smiled politely. She would have thanked the Council for their wisdom. She would have promised that humans would prove worthy of more trust in time. Not today. Lisa stood up. She gathered her papers and tablet. Without speaking, she placed her Council membership pin on the table. The small golden emblem caught the light as she turned away. "Representative Morgan, where are you going?" The Arthenian's voice was confused. Lisa paused at the door. "Home," she said simply. She walked out. The chamber erupted in voices behind her. No species had ever walked out of Council proceedings in 3,000 years of history. Lisa felt lighter with each step she took toward her ship. On Earth, Defense Secretary Alan Wright received Lisa's signal. He sat in the underground command center of the Earth Coalition headquarters in Geneva. Screens around him showed military installations across Earth and its colonies. Outside, snow fell on the Alps. "She did it," Alan told the gathered officials. Morgan walked out. President Carolyn Bell nodded. "Send the announcement to all Earth forces and colonies. As of this moment, Earth is no longer part of the Galactic Council." Alan pressed his hand against the scanner. The order went out across human space. 50 years of frustration had led to this moment. "Will they try to stop us?" asked General Sam Harris. Alan shook his head. "They don't think we're important enough to worry about. That's their first mistake." On screens around the room, reports started coming in. Earth ships were pulling out of joint patrols. Research stations were restricting access to non-human personnel. Defense grids were powering up around every human world. What if they attack? Someone asked. They won't, Alan said. At least not right away. They think we'll come crawling back when we realize we need them. President Bell looked at the main screen showing Earth from orbit. But we don't need them, do we? No, Madam President, Alan replied. They need us. They just don't know it yet. Outside the council chamber, Lisa boarded her ship. Her pilot looked surprised to see her so soon. We're going home, Jack, she said. And we're not coming back. The ship lifted off from Rigel Prime. Lisa watched the council towers shrink beneath her. 50 years of being treated as less than equal was over. Humans had walked out, and the galaxy would never be the same.